challenges that we are likely to face.
Well, right now we are reporting from Adana Airport, and 2 NDRF teams are returning to India today after the success of Operation Dost, after successfully rescuing 2 children from the debris and after performing at par with the other international agencies. 2 Indian teams are returning today. 1 NDRF team is going to stay in Antakya, the worst affected area, and 1 other team of Indian Army, 60 Parafield Hospital, is also going to stay in Turkey till Sunday. But right now we are at a canteen in Adana Airport, and you can see that the Jawans are chilling here. They are enjoying special Turkey tea with snacks, and in fact they are chilling because after almost working for a week, they are going back to their country after generating a lot of goodwill, after generating a lot of good name for India. They are going back. In fact, the government here has made special arrangements to welcome Indian teams at the airport. In fact, the senior guys from NDRF are here. We'll speak to this. So, one reaction. How was the experience?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
And, we did our best here.
Yeah.
And
Namaste and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Anand Narasimhan. Ladies and gentlemen, we will start this evening with the story of an army man who's been beaten to death. Is the death of an army man a small issue? What happened in the Krishnagiri region of Tamil Nadu is unfortunate. At least 9 people have been arrested for the assault on and death of a 33-year-old soldier who had come back home on a break for a month. An argument about washing clothes near a well, we are given to understand, led to an altercation that not only went out of hand but resulted in the stabbing and lynching of the now deceased 33-year-old Prabhu, his father and his brother. This is as per Prabhu's brother Prabhakaran, who spoke with us here at Senior News 18. The main accused is a DMK councillor along with his son, and the son is a cop, ladies and gentlemen. Amid charges and counter-charges, what rings out loud is the silence of the ecosystem. An entire swath that has maintained stoic silence over the last 48 hours. Fact is that the state media in Tamil Nadu has also been accused of trying to hush up this entire matter. A soldier has died, and till now, there hasn't been a reaction from the Chief Minister of the state. Those who would rush to condemn any incident otherwise are silent. Why? Are political and ideological leanings now dictating what will be protested and what won't? If that is true, is it not a sad commentary on the mindset and discourse prevalent within society today? Let me quickly take you through the timeline of this entire incident. It all started from the 8th of February, ladies and gentlemen. An argument between Prabhu and DMK councillor, and this dispute was over washing clothes near a water tank. And that too in the evening, the DMK Neta argued over a water pipe. The argument then escalated into a physical altercation. Chinnaswamy's 3 sons attacked Prabhu, his brother, and they said, "You may be in the army, but you can't harm me." Prabhu was attacked with weapons like logs and knife. Prabhu sustained a head injury and was hospitalized. On the 14th of February, Prabhu succumbed to his injuries in Hosur. 6 accused in the case have been arrested by the cops, we are given to understand. In fact, all 9 accused have been arrested and they have been booked for murder. But interestingly, 6 were accused on the 15th of February, and the DMK Neta Chinnaswamy and the 2 others were held on the 15th because there was a huge uproar, and suddenly the allegation is when matters became political, turned a political turn, and then there were protests raised, and of course the matter started reflecting in media across the country, that's when the cops were forced to, or swung into action and arrested the main accused, that's a DMK councillor, and 2 others who were absconding. But right now, all 9 accused in the case have been booked for murder. The deceased Jawan's brother, in fact, told CNN News 18 that Prabhu was beaten with iron rods and sticks, and added that Chinnaswamy said that even a Jawan has no power in his area, and he couldn't do anything against the DMK councillor. Prabhu's brother also revealed to us what happened and how his brother was attacked with a knife by a DMK councillor. Meanwhile, there is a major war of words between the BJP and the DMK. The BJP, state BJP in Tamil Nadu, has slammed apathy of the state government, saying the state government doesn't respect the army. The BJP has downplayed, saying the DMK has downplayed the whole matter, saying the BJP has killed many people in the past. Then they have said, going forward, BJP says this is an age-old issue in Tamil Nadu. DMK has further come down and said, we are not responsible for the murder. Why is the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister silent? The voice that has come from a very senior voice within the DMK said, it was a small quarrel with a soldier. The BJP is saying the accused should be taught a lesson. The DMK downplaying the matter, saying probing the matter, all accused have been arrested. Let the law take its own course. Why blow it out of proportion? That's the whole response that's coming. Now, earlier in the day, we had the state BJP president, K. Annamalai, a former IPS officer himself, join us live. And we also had the deceased Prabhu's brother Prabhakaran speaking with us on the phone. Have a look at this excerpt.
मैं और मेरा भाई, माँ, बस भाई का वाइफ, हम चारों एक साथ गए थे कपड़ा धोने के लिए, बेडशीट धोने के लिए। एक बेडशीट पहले तो बहुत बंदे धो रहे थे। जैसे कि यार मैंने एक कपड़ा निकाला था, तब आके काउंसलर आके मेरे से बोला, ये कपड़ा निकाल, दूर रख लेना, इधर नहीं धोना। मैं बोला ठीक है, वो मैं निकाल लूंगा, चला जाऊंगा अभी। उसके बाद मैं मम्मी से बात कर रहा था, कपड़ा धो रहे हैं, इधर कार भी धो रहे हैं, मच्छी सब कुछ धो के इधर ही धो रहे हैं हम। ये कपड़ा धोने के लिए क्या दिक्कत हो गया करके मम्मी से बात कर रहा था। तब उसने सुन लिया ये बात, उसने सीधा मेरे को दो तीन गाली दिया। उसके बाद चप्पल उठा लिया, चप्पल उठा कर मार दिया मेरे को एक बार। जैसे मारा, बगल वाला अगल बगल में जो था वो पूरा मेरे को आके, ठीक है छोड़ो ये बात, इधर ही है। उसके बाद शाम को 5:30 बजे आसपास पापा और पापा का दोस्त बाहर मेरे घर का सामने खड़ा होकर बात कर रहे थे दोनों। जैसे वो उस रास्ते से आ रहा था, तब पापा का नाम लेके गाली दिया। उस टाइम पापा ने बोला, वो गाली दे रहा, तुम अंदर चले जाओ। मेरे को बोला, मैं और भाई दोनों घर के अंदर आ गए थे। जैसे घर के अंदर आते, पापा को सीधा दौड़ के आया वहाँ पे, पापा को कॉलर पकड़ के सीधा सिर पे चाकू मार दिया। चाकू मारते पापा ने सीधा नीचे गिर गया। जैसे हम बाहर जाने से पहले उनका घर का जो आसपास वाले घर वाले उनका रिलेटिव पूरे इकट्ठा हो गया मेरे को और भाई को घर का अंदर से मारता हुआ लेके बाहर लेके भागे। भाई को चला गया, अभी मैं अकेला हूँ, मेरे को कोई सपोर्ट नहीं है। अभी क्या करूँ, मेरे को कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा।
प्रभाकरन, कोई आपको सपोर्ट करने के लिए नहीं है, ऐसा क्यों कह रहे हैं? क्या आपको अभी भी, आपके फैमिली को अभी भी कोई थ्रेटन कर रहा है?
वो मेरे को मारने के चक्कर में रह रहे हैं सर। क्या कर, हम तो ये फौज में है ना सर, इसी वजह से फौज के चक्कर में उन्होंने बोल के मार रहे थे, बोल के मार रहे थे।
क्या बोल के मार रहे थे?
तुम कैसे फौज में चले जाओगे, तुम कैसे फौज में रहोगे करके मार रहे थे। और मैं इधर इस गाँव में किसी के पास जाता नहीं हूँ, मैं जाके बैठता नहीं हूँ, किसी से मेरे को मतलब नहीं है।
Annamalai ji, Vanakkam. We are also having with us on our phone Prabhu's brother, younger brother, and he is saying, वो कह रहे हैं that he is also feeling threatened. He was attacked in his village because he is from the army. He says his father was attacked and now he is also fearing attack, and he says there is nobody to support me.
Vanakkam sir, as we speak now, our leaders are in the village. They've met the family, and at different parts of the state they are doing their protest. Especially the ex-servicemen wing of our party, the brothers and sisters retired from the Army, Air Force and Navy. They are out in different collectorates with their uniform, with their badges on. What he is talking is of a slightly larger issue, sir, which I tend to agree with him in this case. The whole village knows the two brothers are working in the army. This is their house, and generally the councillors they tend to control that village because the ruling party is also there. And the system is in their hand, the power system is in their hand, the police is in their hand. And this is happening from February 8. February 8, a trivial issue started, and February 8 to today we are in 16th. Over the last 8 days, a kind of terror is unleashed in that village. And this is all hushed up by the local media also, nothing came out. So I feel very sorry that he has to speak this in a national media, being an army personnel himself. And I promise you, sir, that we will take good care of their family. So we are putting systems in place. The deceased Prabhu has got a small child also. And we are trying to see how best we can help them, education, money and everything. Because they are serving our country, they are our people, it is our duty to stand with them. It is a moral right and moral responsibility.
But I want to understand, why would somebody say, how can you be in the military? What is this? It was supposed to be a small issue over a fracas that happened, but the attacks have happened saying, how can you be in the military? He says that he doesn't speak to anybody in the village and nobody in the village speaks to him because he is in the military. Now, are we looking at something really, really worrying in Tamil Nadu?
To answer this, yes, to answer this question, I have to take you back some 50-60 years. The founding of DMK, the way DMK came to power. And if you look at the other parts of India, generally all political parties are for army personnel. Something happens, the whole state will be with them. All political parties, irrespective of their differences, would be with them. But Tamil Nadu, you see, very different, sir. DMK will never ever open their mouth when something concerns the army, because the basic founding itself, they don't believe in the unity and the territorial integrity of this country. They believe Tamil Nadu is a separate state, separate identity, and that's how they came. They dropped that separate state demand post 1963-64. So DMK, the culture of an army who as a collectively is representing our nation, standing in the border, they don't have that spirit. So it comes from there.
Annamalaji, I'm just going to request and check if Prabhakaran is still there. Prabhakaran, நீங்க கேட்டுருக்கீங்களா? நீங்க ஒன்னு சொல்லுங்க. உங்களுக்கு police இந்த local police help பண்ணாங்களா? 8ஆம் தேதி நடந்த இந்த incident के बाद did the police help you? क्या police ने आपकी मदद की?
हाँ किया, मदद पुलिस वालों ने मदद किया.
पुलिस वालों ने मदद किया, लेकिन काउंसलर को अरेस्ट करने में इतना टाइम लग गया.
वो पता नहीं सर क्या हुआ. बाकी उसको साथ वाले को जितने थे उनको अरेस्ट कर लिए थे.
सिर्फ काउंसलर को नहीं पकड़ा था.
तीन लोग गांव में नहीं थे, वो कहाँ पता नहीं था. हाँ.
पर कल जब
मैं भी आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ सर, ऐसे कैसे हुआ?
क्योंकि हम सबको इसका जवाब नहीं मिल रहा, क्योंकि अन्नामलई जी वही कह रहे हैं कि जैसे ही प्रोटेस्ट हुआ, जैसे ही आवाज़ उठाई गई, 1 घंटे के अंदर उनको अरेस्ट कर लिया गया. तो कहीं ना कहीं इनको कोई सपोर्ट दे रहा है. और आप क्यों कह रहे हैं कि अभी भी आपको थ्रेट्स आ रहे हैं? आपको क्यों अभी भी डर लग रहा है? कौन आपको थ्रेटन कर रहा है?
मेरे घर वक्त मैं अकेला हूँ सर. मेरे घर पे कल मैं यहाँ से चला जाऊंगा. हाँ. कल को मैं यहाँ से चला जाऊंगा, मेरा परिवार को कौन साथ देगा ये बताओ?
இந்த வில்லேஜில் இருக்கிற மிச்ச மக்களும் இப்போ இறங்கி வருவாங்க. அது கவுன்சிலருங்கிறனால நேஷனல் இஷ்யூ அட்டென்ஷன் ஆயிடுச்சு, கொஞ்சம் எல்லாம் பயப்படுறாங்கன்னு நினைக்கிறேங்க. நாளைக்கெல்லாம் செட்டிலைட் ஆனதுக்கப்புறம் மக்களே வர ஆரம்பிப்பாங்க. வி ஆர் தேர் வித் ஹிம் சார். எதுக்கும் பயப்பட வேண்டாம்.
We're getting a move on here on the right stand. Even as the IT survey in the BBC premises in Delhi and in Mumbai continue to the 3rd straight day, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankarji has warned of sinister designs to set afloat a narrative by free fall of information. Jagdeep Dhankarji, who was addressing the Indian Information Service probationers, asked them to watch out for such designs and said that the public should not allow free fall of doctored narratives to run down our growth story. Now, without mincing words, the Honorable Vice President raised a misinformation invasion alarm. Now, here are the top 5 attacks. The first attack in his speech: need to counter sinister designs against India's growth story. The second attack: doctored narratives can't be allowed to run down Bharat or India. Attack 3: dumping of information is another way of invasion. Attack 4: we have to boldly neutralize misinformation invasion. And attack 5: misinformation can't be allowed in the name of freedom of expression.
India is on the rise. Sinister designs are there. to set afloat a narrative by free fall of information. We have to be alert. This is another way of invasion. We have to boldly neutralize it. We have to stir in us a spirit of nationalism. We cannot allow free fall of doctored narratives to run down our growth story.
So has the Vice President correctly, rightly called out disinfo and this information warfare that's being waged against India's growth story? Let's go straight across to our guest this evening. It's a direct face-off. Kamal Sibalji, former Foreign Secretary of India, is with us, and so is Sanjay Jha, Congress leader and political analyst. Namaste and Jai Hind. Thank you very, very much for your time. Let me ask you, Kamal Sibalji, do you agree, disagree with the Vice President?
I agree with him, but this is an old story, you know. If you remember, Mrs. Gandhi had led this initiative at that time along with other non-aligned countries for a new World Information Order, because the World Information Order has been controlled by the West, and it continues to be the case today. They are the ones who set the narratives through various NGOs, various organizations with all the rankings that they do about democracy and hunger and religious freedom and what have you, which is a tool that they use to pressure countries to follow and subscribe to what they describe are their values. And you see, if you look at the information landscape, even now, it's the New York Times, it's the Washington Post, it's the Economist, it's the Wall Street Journal, it's the Economist, which control the flow of information internationally. And what is now even more worrying in some senses is that this has become part of a hybrid warfare. That you control the information flow, you set the narrative, and we see it very clearly in the case of the Ukraine conflict. That no dissenting voice is allowed to surface. People who might want dialogue and diplomacy are not given access to major social media platforms. They are blanked out from appearance on television. And if somehow they manage through social media and otherwise to say their piece, they are immediately reviled as being sold to Putin, as Russia's stooges and what have you. So they actually, in a sense, demonize these people who want to talk sense. Now in India, and that's the last point I want to make, there's a clear complicity between foreign media and our media, which gives a lot of space to Western narratives through various ways. One, of course, are the Western news agencies, which dominate the flow of information globally. They're not going to pick up TASS or what have you. They will use the Agence France Presse or Associated Press or Reuters or what have you. And they're lazy because they don't want to, and they don't have the means and resources. They don't have reporters on the ground in key countries. So they depend on whatever feed they get. And then our own PTI and others, they also circulate the same kind of stories.
Right.
The other, of course, is that we have these foreign based intellectuals, columnists, economists, or what have you, who write daily in our columns. And they're telling us about the affairs in India.
Correct.
Why don't they concentrate on the affairs in the countries which they have adopted? But sitting in their perch there, they tell us what is wrong with us, what we should do, how we should reform, what are the deficiencies, etc., etc.
So,
the Indian diaspora is involved in this because many of them are very leftist oriented, and then in any case they think they are very liberal, and therefore they don't like this kind of Hindu nationalist stuff that they see going on in India. And then I find it very surprising that our newspapers give so easily columns to foreign ambassadors sitting in Delhi. You know, I have been in diplomatic service for over 40 years. Very difficult in serious countries to get your viewpoint across in an article in a major newspaper. They won't allow it. But here, every Tom, Dick and Harry comes and talks from abroad or locally about how they demonize Russia, they interfere in our foreign relations, and we give them this
we give them a free run.
So therefore, I think there's a need for correction. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. We don't have an international channel ourselves. We can't put our views across effectively. And even if we had an international channel, it's not so easy because the Western world will rely on their own channels because they think they reflect the truth.
Well, they already have a mechanism in place which will work in their favor. Like, you cannot ask a question, what is NATO doing on the doorstep of Russia? That's not a question you're supposed to ask. Absolutely. You're supposed to say that NATO is right in being there right outside. Even though the British parliamentary report itself says that they got it all wrong in Libya. It was all a skewed narrative, and that report has come out in September and it's being talked about widely. But your point of view is out there. Let's understand from Sanjay Jha. Where do you stand, Sanjay Jha? Namaste, good to have you on the show after a while.
Yep. Anand, one of my preconditions of being in your program is that I'm not interrupted when I speak. So I do hope that you will honor that contract, and like Mr. Sibal, you will not kind of provide any obstructions. I'll keep my answer briefer than what Mr. Sibal said. Mr. Sibal sounds like the typical right-wing conspiracy theorist. What is the truth? There is no information order today. There is something called as a disinformation order that is basically the biggest threat to democracies all over the world. One of the countries that has mastered the art is Russia, with whom India's foreign policy is to play footsie with them because we might get some cheap oil. That is basically the hard truth that we need to accept. Number two, let us stop living in a fool's paradise, calling ourselves the mother of democracy. I mean, even within the country, people are sniggering. Forget the BBC and the New York Times. We are the father of the bap of dictatorship. India, under the BJP, and particularly since Mr. Modi became Prime Minister, is now very close to looking like a tin pot dictatorship or a banana republic. Now, let me address to you the BBC issue. Will Mr. Sibal today tell me that the Editors Guild of India, which has said that the decision of the government to do a transfer pricing investigation into the BBC is kosher? Because they have said, hang on, you got a miserable track record. Whether it's NewsClick, News Laundry, Dainik Bhaskar, Bharat Samachar, you can name them all, Amnesty International, The Wire. I mean, whatever the provocation, we all know that this is the iron hand of this government at play. They cannot take any criticism. And by the way, one that is very acutely uncomfortable for the Prime Minister, oh my God, let's not even talk about that Rubicon. Here is the fundamental point, and I'll speak to you as a banker. You know, I have heard reports that this is a transfer pricing issue with the BBC. If anybody knows transfer pricing, they will tell you that, Anand, that transfer pricing doesn't require a sudden swoop of income tax routes, because it is basically an accounting process whereby certain funds may be transferred abroad and the services may be priced at a different level. I'm sure this information was available for a long time. So what is the trigger? The trigger is a BBC documentary that came 3 weeks ago, just 3 weeks ago, and raised some questions on the role of the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Mr. Narendra Modi, currently the Prime Minister of India, during the time of the Gujarat riots. And by the way, this is important to tell you, it is not just a BBC documentary report. They have used a British Foreign Office report, which means it is basically a government official document where they have come to the conclusion that Mr. Modi was directly responsible for allowing things to escalate where thousands of people died. That is the hard truth.
Thank you. Now, before Mr. Sibal responds, one or two things. In 2009, also for the same issue, but 2001, 2002 and their accounting, they were under the radar. BBC queries had been raised. So their time and again, they have been under the radar of the tax routes, irrespective of the disposition. Secondly, sir, the aspect of what was a British foreign envoy doing on Indian soil in Gujarat at that time is a question that still lingers. Did he have the official diktat and permission to do it? And who are the British to come and audit what is happening in Gujarat and in India at that point in time is another question which all of us need to consider and answer, irrespective of our political leanings. Irrespective of our political leanings and ideological leanings, as a nation, as a country, the British were out in 1947. They had no business being in Gujarat and trying to do their own audits. They should not. And under whose this one did they have it? That's a larger question. But Mr. Sibal, would you want to respond to Sanjay Jha? Ji.
Frankly, if I had been told that Sanjay Jha would be only panelist with me, I wouldn't have attended. I wouldn't have accepted your invitation, frankly.
Why? Because
you're not capable of
Mr.
rational
Sibal.
debate.
Let him answer now. Let's not heckle
can
each other. Nobody is interrupting anybody here.
Me as a
Yes.
right wing, whatever. I mean, he's a totally unhinged fellow. No hold.
Don't get personal.
One minute. The rule applies to both sides, gentlemen. And Mr. Sanjay Jha, you are the one who started by making a personal attack at Mr. Kanwal Sibal. He has a right to respond to what you accused him of being. So allow him to do that, and then we'll move on.
I don't want to answer at all what he said because it's all utter rubbish and nonsense. You ask me a question and I'll respond to your question.
Now, let me ask you, Mr. Sibal. The Editors Guild has taken a position. Now, what would you say?
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so the Editors Guild has taken a position where they believe that this is selective targeting of certain media and outlets who have been critical about the current disposition, and this is deliberate targeting. Now, is this something which is happening only now, or has it happened in the past? That's one aspect. Secondly, if it has happened in the past, does that justify it happening now? Should it happen now? Then where is free speech? Where are the restrictions? And now, how does media do its job?
See, a couple of things. First of all, we are talking about foreign media. The foreign media in a country, in a third country, doesn't operate on the same basis as local media. They have to seek permission to set up their office. And they have to abide by certain rules and regulations. They are not supposed to interfere in the internal politics or internal affairs of the country. Our media can do what it likes because it's our media. They have every right to speak about internal developments. This is perfectly normal. But the foreign media present in the country cannot have an agenda of its own where they trash the government, the sitting prime minister, the party. They have an ideological view. They have preconceived notions about how India should be governed, what kind of leadership it should have, what kind of economic policies it should pursue. And it's part of a very larger international game that is being played. Why is it that the governments of these countries are reaching out to us? We have developed a very positive relationship with them, whether it's the United States or Britain or France or Germany. But the media of these countries is very anti-Indian. There is a huge disconnect between what the government is trying to do to establish better ties, and the media thinks that it is their job to create more understanding, more suspicions, and alienate the Indian public and misinform their own public about what is happening in India. So we have to probe into what are the forces behind this which are not happy with the direction in which India is going. There's enough criticism at home. I'm not at all against it. They're perfectly free to do it. And if they have legitimate criticism, the government must change its ways of doing things. But the foreign media cannot dictate what we should do and launch a personal attack against the prime minister of a country. I mean, this is unheard of, but they do it. You seen The Economist when there were elections were going to be fought in 2019. They actually said that India should not vote for Modi coming back to power. Is this journalism or is this politics? And look at the BBC report recently on what's happening in Assam in terms of child marriages. We can have a view about that internally. We can say it is wrong. Some may say it is right. But you see the BBC report on it, which actually they justify child marriages for religious, for humanitarian reasons. I mean,
point is that some people cannot sit on their high horses and decide what is right and what is wrong, and then claim themselves to be perhaps the benchmarks when they themselves are not covered in greatness or covered in.
And let me make the final point: that all Russian channels have been banned in Europe. All Russian channels. Now, if freedom of speech, freedom of expression is so valuable, so much a fundamental value for these countries, why have they done that? Why have they? We've not banned the BBC.
No, ironically, the CGTN, which stands banned in the UK, the BBC has invested. That's what British report suggests. BBC is actually putting in money into Chinese state-owned media platforms and doing work for them.
Finally, Anand, another point which was raised just now. about British diplomats sending back a report. I was Foreign Secretary then, and I am aware of this, and I have written about this also. I took strong objection to this and issued a warning to the missions in Delhi not to interfere in our internal affairs. Because the British actually had circulated their negative report to all the EU missions here. The point is that one officer goes there without seeking any permission of any kind, and based on the reports he got at that time, which were not verified, which were emotional, he sent back a report. Now, after that, the Supreme Court set up the SIT. The SIT has exonerated Modi, but this particular BBC documentary totally ignores the Supreme Court judgment. And if they had recognized the Supreme Court judgment, the first part of the BBC documentary couldn't have been made.
Well,
it was all made on the assumption.
I'm pressed for time. I know I have not been fair with Sanjay Jha because I had to give him a chance.
I understand you must have got
I have to give him a chance to rebut.
You must have got orders.
No.
Mr. Sipal is very upset. But I don't want to respond to his
Sanjay ji, I'll tell you what.
absurd and atrocious garbage.
Sanjay
For
ji,
the record, he's talked garbage.
Sanjay ji, I'll tell you what. Sanjay Jha, I know one thing, sir. You're far more capable than the level that you are currently engaging in the discourse now, and you're far more, and you can raise the level of the discourse, and I hope you will do it, sir, when we speak again next time very soon.
Equal airtime.
No, it's not about equal or unequal. I'm 3 minutes over on my show already, but okay. No, I'll tell you what, and I don't need to justify myself to you, but my point, sir, is that rather than argue on the subject, you went straight after the person itself, and then you tried to get personal with that person and turned around and said you're getting. No, sir, you did. Your first line on the show, sir, was a personal jibe at Mr. Kamal Sibal. Whereas I have immense respect for both of you gentlemen, irrespective of what you think of me. I have respect for you, and I believe that you can raise the level of discourse than what you have resorted to today, especially Sanjay Jha ji. This is my humble request to you. I have to move on for the moment, but with the promise that we will make up the time for you, Mr. Jha, the next time around. That's my assurance. I'm compelled to move because of the structure of the show itself. Thank you very much, Kamal Sibal ji also. Namaste. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, getting a move on to a CNN News 18 exclusive. This is a huge betting racket that's being run by the Chinese in our country that's now been busted. This is happening in China. The SFIO has busted a big racket. The racket is run from China via Dubai into India. One Indian and one Chinese national have been so far identified. This racket that SFIO has busted is big. It's a huge betting racket that is run in our country. It originates from China, but to escape scrutiny, it's routed via Dubai. This betting racket being run by a Chinese national. The Chinese are using Indians sitting in Dubai to run this betting racket in India. Thousands of crores are getting drained out of our country. In fact, the Indian who's been arrested, in 6 months, his own betting site has made about 1,000 crores. Now, the SFIO has identified 289 websites being used in illegal betting, gaming and gambling in our country. Illegal betting and gaming via websites. The website list also includes wolf77.com, which is run by Bhupesh Arora. SFIO has found that in one company, Analytic Business Ventures Private Limited, controlled by Bhupesh Arora, the turnover crossed more than 1,000 crore in only 6 months. Who are these two accused? One Indian, one Chinese national have been identified. Bhupesh Arora runs the racket in India. Bhupesh Arora, along with his Chinese counterpart, is running the racket through his aides, who are Pankaj Wadhwa, Akshay Dhawan and Vivek Kumar. Indian authorities are in search of Bhupesh Arora, and a lookout circular has already been opened against him. The Chinese national Li Anming has been identified. Bhupesh Arora and this Chinese national Li Anming have been identified as the ultimate beneficiaries. The list has been also shared with the Ministry of Information Technology, MEITI. SFIO has shared data on 2 individuals with the Enforcement Directorate too. The ED has already frozen the assets and bank accounts of Bhupesh Arora, and interestingly, Bhupesh Arora's name has surfaced even in some crypto aji-baji, with cryptocurrency. But just one website has made nearly 1,000 crores, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine the amount of money that's being siphoned off from the vulnerable after luring them in through these 289 websites. Ashish Merishi got us this story. I had a chat with him on the sidelines in the newsroom. Listen in. So it's not just loan apps, even betting. Ashish Merishi, who's got us this story, is with me. Let's just do a quick chat with him. I've got him on the news in the newsroom here. So wherever Indian society or the middle class and the lower middle class is perhaps vulnerable, these people, how do I call them? Miscreants, mischief mongers. I don't know if they have state-backed entity in China, but these entities are trying to catch these vulnerable and attack them at their vulnerable points.
Anand, thousands and thousands of crores are getting drained out of India. That is what the SFIO report that has been submitted to the government says.
Right.
In one company, which belonged to Bhupesh Arora, they have identified an individual who is basically in Dubai as of now, and his counterpart, Li Yanming, he is in China. In one company, which was only 6 months old, in 6 months, they found that the transactions worth 1,000 crore rupees was done. Wow. Imagine. So just in 6 months, the turnover of that company was 1,000 crore rupees. Now, how did SFIO land up into this, investigating into this betting? They basically they were investigating Shigo Technologies. Now we all know that SFIO basically looks after violations of the Corporate Affairs Act. Yeah. So betting has got nothing to do with SFIO. But when they investigated Shigo Technologies and they got into layers of that company, they found that there are certain shell companies in various tax havens, especially a person called Bhupesh Arora, who's basically running this entire racket from Dubai, and he has got around 3 pawns in India, especially Delhi. Through that, this entire racket is being run. Now, they have identified 289 websites like this. Now, imagine these 289 websites doing thousands and thousands of crore rupees of business. So, the scam size would be, into thousands and thousands.
But my question is, was this money being siphoned out of India, or was it being rotated in India? What is it? What's in it there in terms of the China connection? Is it just two mischief mongers, two miscreants, two devious minds getting together to fool people, and they could do it in any country, or is that with a devious intent?
If I'm saying it's getting drained out of India, and who is the ultimate beneficiary? Li Yanming in China. And there are many people like Li Yanming in China who are doing this. So they know that they are on the radar of the Indian agencies. So they're using this route of Dubai, and then through Indians who are vulnerable Indians who are looking basically to make quick money, they basically target people in India because they know the Indian market well, and ultimately people households like the middle class or the lower middle class who basically want to make quick money, young generation, kids who want to make quick money, they are falling prey to it.
Are these individuals devious individuals operating in China, or do they have a certain state backing where this money is perhaps going to be funneled again for other purposes further to weaken India or for a soft operation against it?
So it's very difficult to say because identifying, first of all, the biggest task was to identify who the ultimate beneficiary is. Whether he's a state actor or not, we don't know. Whether that money is going to come back to India, we don't know. Whether the betting money which they have made for is it coming through loan apps, we don't know. So these are certain areas which have to be looked at by the Indian authorities. But let me tell you, the Indian authorities are really, really worried about this.
So blocking, banning, there is a war that's being waged against cybercrime, and step by step the centre is trying to crack down. So what has the centre tried to do? The centre has initiated a process to ban and block 138 betting apps, 94 loan lending apps. The apps with Chinese links to be banned and blocked on urgent and emergency basis. Now, this was a step that was taken a short while ago, and the crackdown has already begun. You can see the results now. Sources say that Methi received a communication from the Home Ministry earlier in the week. Sources also saying that Methi had initiated the process to block these Chinese apps. The centre initiated the analysis of 288 Chinese loan lending apps 6 months ago. 94 of the 288 apps are available on e-stores and are working through third-party links. Now, sources say that apps trap individuals in massive debt and pose risk of data of citizens too. Sources say these apps can also be misused as tools for espionage and propaganda. So what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, is that they are not only using loan apps, they're also using betting websites to try and draw people in, lure them in, and then take their money out of the country. That's what's happening. We're going to move on here on the right stand and get you perhaps the most shocking visual and development of the day, and it's absolute drama for Prithvi Shaw, who's trying very hard to make his way back into the national side. A group of people chased Prithvi Shaw and his friend after he refused a selfie while having dinner at a 5-star hotel near the Mumbai airport. A police complaint has been filed regarding the matter. Oshiwara police have booked 8 people under several sections of the IPC for unlawful assembly and using weapons for offence. Sections 143, 148, 149, 384, 437, 504 and 506 have been invoked. And now, let us try and look at all sides of this story, because a war of versions has now erupted. Prithvi Shaw, the first one, from Prithvi Shaw's point of view. Prithvi Shaw went to dinner with a friend at a restaurant on the 15th of February and a person asked for a selfie. Shaw first obliged a couple of people for the selfie, but then they returned and wanted more, and they returned with some more people. The Indian batter then denied more selfies, and he told them that he's there for dinner with his friends, and he asked the hotel manager and complained to him about the matter. The manager asked these people to not disturb the cricketer and told them to leave the restaurant. After having dinner, Prithvi Shaw left the restaurant with his friend, but they were both stopped by the same people at a traffic signal. They also vandalized the car by smashing the front and rear windows. Prithvi Shaw's friend was also asked to pay 50,000 rupees to settle the matter, which was mentioned in the police complaint. Shaw took another cab to leave, and while his friend Ashish filed a complaint at the Oshiwara police station. Now, Ali Kashif Khan, the lawyer for the lady in question, who's also a social media influencer, we're given to understand, has alleged that Prithvi Shaw assaulted the lady. The lawyer claims that it was Prithvi Shaw and his friend who actually attacked them. The woman is currently at the Oshiwara police station and is not being allowed to go even for a medical examination. That's what the lawyer from the other side is saying. Then, let's listen in to what the lawyer Kashif Ali Khan had to say.
सपना गिल जो है पृथ्वी शॉ की फैन थी और उनके साथ एक और एक दोस्त भी थे। इन लोगों ने पृथ्वी शॉ को रिक्वेस्ट किया कि एक सेल्फी के लिए सेल्फी की लेने के चक्कर में पृथ्वी शॉ जो है बहुत ज्यादा ड्रंक थे, पिए हुए थे और अल्कोहल पे बहुत ज्यादा हाई थे। उन्होंने उनको अब्यूज किया, उनको मारा और मारने का ये एविडेंस है कि हमारे पास फोटोज आए हुए हैं जहाँ पे सपना गिल के हाथ पे बहुत ज्यादा इंजरी लगी हुई है और इसके चलते उन लोगों ने बहुत मैनहैंडल भी किया उन लोगों को अपने गुंडों के साथ मिलके और एक वुडन का बड़ा बैट निकाला, बैट से भी वो लोग मारने जा रहे थे। पृथ्वी शॉ जो है, पृथ्वी शॉ अल्कोहल के चक्कर में उन्होंने ड्रिंक एंड ड्राइव भी किया हुआ है। तो ये सब चीजें जो है झूठा एफआईआर किया। अब हमारी मांग ये है कि सेक्शन 354, 509 और 323 के चलते काफी सेक्शन धाराओं के चलते इनके ऊपर सेक्शन में एफआईआर होना चाहिए और इनको अरेस्ट करना चाहिए पृथ्वी शॉ और उनके सारे लोगों को। और ये हमारी कंप्लीट डिमांड है आज के झूठे इस एफआईआर को कंप्लीटली बोगस और बेस्लेस एफआईआर को वॉश करना चाहिए।
But there are multiple versions to this story. We'll get to the bottom of that. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, the snakes in their own backyard are coming to bite, ladies and gentlemen. Pakistan stung by terrorists. There is a letter that's come in by the IS Khorasan announcing war against the Pakistani establishment. Politicians, military alike, irrespective of which political disposition they belong to. Stay with us.
We have multilateral exercises, all that goes on.
Also about the future plans of Indian Navy.
Future plans, we have a capability development program which takes into consideration what are the challenges that you are likely to face, and based upon that, I can tell you that we already have 43 ships under construction, out of which 41 are being built in Indian shipyards only. And we have nearly 49 ships, the AON is being processed, and so by about 2035 or so, we anticipate that we'll be about 170 to 175 ship Navy, which will be quite capable of meeting the challenges that we are likely to face.
Our correspondent Akash Sharma, who spoke to the Indian Navy chief, is joining us. Akash, what is the current situation in the Indian Ocean region?
You see, Indian Ocean region, as Admiral R. Harikumar mentioned, is a challenging, facing challenging situations because, other than the resident forces, it also has 60 to 70 other naval forces. But, talking about this particular interview, Anjali, so, Admiral R. Harikumar mentioned a number of important points. And the first one was that he emphasized on the importance of maintaining peace and stability in the region. Since India is a resident force there, so we keep a track of almost all activities. And he mentioned it categorically that, there is a presence of Chinese naval ships, warships, research vessels, and fishing boats as well. So it was an important point. Other than that, we talk about Atmanirbharta. We know that how Indian government is stressing on Atmanirbharta, and in that context, Admiral R. Harikumar, said this categorically that we are at this point in time, building at least 43 ships, and other than these 43 ships, we are also, in process of signing the AON, which is the acceptance of necessity of 49 other ships. And, going with that statement, by 2035, we'll be having at least 170 to 175 ships. This is what he mentioned. So this was the other important point. So first one is, of course, the peace and, peace and stability in the Indian Ocean region that Indian Navy is focusing on. And the other one is Atmanirbharta. And, going with that program, we are also already building ships and all other things in India.
Right, Akash. Thank you for giving us all those details. Indian Navy Chief Admiral Radhakrishnan Harikumar spoke exclusively to CNN News 18's Akash Sharma about the current challenges and preparedness of Indian Navy in Indian Ocean region. The Admiral emphasized on the importance of maintaining peace and stability in the region, which is crucial for the global economy due to the large amount of traffic passing through it. He also mentioned how there is a presence of a large number of Chinese naval ships, warships, research vessels and fishing boats in the region, and how India, being a resident force, keeps a track of all the activity happening in that particular region. Regarding future plans, he revealed that the Indian Navy has a capabilities development program running and 43 ships are currently under construction, with 41 being built in Indian shipyards. Let's listen into this exclusive interview.
Is about Indian Ocean region. We know about the challenges there. China is trying to dominate the area. If you can throw some light on those challenges and also the future plans of Indian Navy.
The Indian Ocean is a very complex area because there is it's very important for almost the entire world because so much of traffic flows through it, maritime traffic. There is trade which flows through the region. It is important not only for us, it's important for the rest of the world as well. So therefore, while we are the largest navy, the resident navy in the region, we have to ensure that there is peace and stability because the oceans are the global commons. At any point of time, there are about 65 to 70 extra regional navies operating in this region. So it's our we as the resident naval power in this region, we keep track of all the activities that are happening. There are Chinese naval ships also operating. There are Chinese warships. There are Chinese research vessels, Chinese fishing boats in large numbers, and the prosperity at sea is dependent upon peace, tranquility, our ability to use the oceans in a free, open, and in compliance with the rule of law and so on. So that is what we try to achieve, and it is something which cannot be achieved just by one navy alone. It has to be done in cooperation and collaboration as well as coordination with all the navies in the region. So we have our outreach program, we have our activities along with the friendly foreign countries in the region. We help them, we interact with them, we train them, we facilitate capacity building, we strengthen their hands, we have multilateral exercises, all that goes on.
Also about the future plans of Indian Navy.
Future plans, we have a capability development program which takes into consideration what are the challenges that you are likely to face, and based upon that, I can tell you that we already have 43 ships under construction, out of which 41 are being built in Indian shipyards only, and we have nearly 49 ships. The AON is being processed, and so by about 2035 or so, we anticipate that we'll be about 170 to 175 ships.
Back on, ladies and gentlemen, with the story of the pesky neighbor who is in huge trouble. It's all coming crumbling down for Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, from all corners. The economic crisis is worsening. Prices of even basic essentials are shooting through the roof. Even oil, petrol, fuel has now again gone up. The Pakistani rupee is crumbling. The IMF has left. They've rejected any deal and they've put such conditions which is going to be very hard for the Shehbaz Sharif government to follow. In the same time, the trusted ally China has also said pay up in front, pay up front. Otherwise, we're not giving you any more money. We've dumped enough money and we've lost enough money on you. There is political turmoil with Imran Khan's imminent arrest, and that could create a huge conundrum. And Imran Khan has now taken part, opened up the entire front against Qamar Javed Bajwa and the military establishment. Terrorists are threatening. TTP is threatening. Now, to just add to this crisis, there is another terrorist outfit which was created by the military establishment in Pakistan, the ISI, and their ilk. They have also now trained their guns back at the establishment and the polity. The Al-Azaim published the 18th issue of the Islamic State Khorasan Gag magazine. In the magazine, ISKP attacked Pakistan's religious scholars and Pakistan's system of government. The ISKP says Pakistan is going through the worst political, economic and security situation in its history of 75 years. Now, it is stated that Pakistan is a cancer for the Islamic existence. That's what it is saying. The ISKP has claimed that Pakistan is run by the establishment and the establishment follows the works or is a puppet of the United States. As in 2018, the current army chief, General Asim Munir, is on a US visit and he will act upon what the US will order him. They also said Imran Khan was brought to power through rigging and removed when he visited Russia. Pakistani scholars were highly criticized by the ISKP, especially Mufti Taqi Usmani, because the terrorist banned outfit claimed that after issuing a fatwa on jihad in Afghanistan, he called it a riot in Pakistan in recent days. And the Afghan Taliban, they have taken pot shots at them too, saying they are pawns of the Pakistani establishment. The ISKP has warned that it will continue working against the Pakistani state. It also stated that ISKP is not working for or on anyone else's agenda. The ISKP will continue its jihad against the US and its agents. There's more, ladies and gentlemen. Now, trouble is not just mounting, it's touched the stratosphere, ladies and gentlemen, because the United States Institute of Peace, one of the largest and credible think tanks group, has fears that Pakistan's deteriorating economy will limit its ability to act against terrorists. Afghan Taliban interim government unlikely to stop supporting militants in Pakistan as they feel that economic troubles prevent Islamabad from launching a major operation against the banned Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. Referring to Afghan Taliban's recent criticism of Pakistan's policies, the report said that Taliban Amir agrees that the Pak system is un-Islamic and argued that this undiplomatic rhetoric underscores the Afghan Taliban's determination to continue supporting the TTP even in the face of intensified pressure from Pakistan. The USIP report further says that Taliban and non-Taliban constituencies in Afghanistan are behind the TTP, also argued that Afghan Taliban's response to being confronted about their support to the TTP has been to level counter-accusations which does not signal an impending shift away from that particular support. Such rhetorical signals are matched by anecdotal reports from UN officials and other observers quoted in the USIP report of TTP individuals moving freely and conducting business in Afghan cities and safe haven for them. Now, according to this report, another key factor shaping the Pakistani response is the country's deteriorating economy, which is on the brink of a default. The USIP warned that Pakistan can carry out raids and undertake defensive actions inside the country, but it doesn't have the resources for a sustained high-intensity campaign. And according to the USIP report, that amid Pakistan's economic crisis and Taliban's rule in Afghanistan, the Pakistani Taliban have re-emerged as an increasingly potent threat. Joining us now is the former GOC 15 Corps. He's also the DG Military Intelligence, Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, who's celebrating his book, Kitne Ghazi Aaye, Kitne Ghazi Gaye. It was a tribute to the Pulwama martyrs. But General KJS Dhillon, जहां से गाजी आए, वही अब balkanization की ओर जा रहा है.
Good evening, Anand, and absolutely. See, Pakistan as a nation, as you very rightly brought out in the preamble, is governed by the deep state or the establishment or the military. Call it by any name, it smells as bad. So that is why Pakistan has leveraged its geostrategic location for last 70 years, at times with the USA, at times with other local players. And now that policy itself, that geostrategic location itself is coming back to haunt it. There is China, as you said, who is now pressing for the loans which it has given for repayments. There is the establishment within, the ISI created terror ecosystem. And if you remember the famous quote by Miss Hillary Clinton, if you have snakes in your backyard and you expect them to bite only your enemies, then that is exactly what is coming true now. The snakes which were perpetrated by ISI are now coming back to bite them. The snakes on the northwestern border, and what they thought will go into India. Now with India's Kashmir now on the path of progress, and now local sport winning out there, now they have this ecosystem, the factory, the industry is producing these snakes, and now they don't know where to send them. So this is the problem which Pakistan and any countries, I always say this, any country's status is known by 4 pillars of that country. Economic, political, military and diplomacy. As you also brought out in the preamble, Pakistan is failing on all these 4 fronts. The political turmoil which is there with Mr. Imran Khan creating problems for Mr. Shehbaz Sharif and vice versa, then their diplomacy is at the lowest today. No country is coming forward to support it economically and diplomatically. So much so when the Article 370 was abrogated, no country came forward in their support. So-called the people who were supposed to be supporting them. Military, we have seen for the first time, the public openly is criticizing the military in Pakistan. ये जो वर्दी है इसके पीछे, ये जो गुंडागर्दी है इसके पीछे वर्दी है, ये जो दहशतगर्दी है इसके पीछे वर्दी है. So all these fronts, they are failing very badly, and now they are left with no choice but to squeeze the citizenry, which is a very bad thing. India as a nation wants a progressive Pakistan, wants a peaceful Pakistan as the neighbor, so that the whole neighborhood, the whole South Asia can grow and progress conjointly. But the Hukmran, the deep state, the establishment is not seeing that logic. The corruption is at its peak. So I think Pakistan is passing through a very bad phase.
Where does it end?
We as elder brothers,
where is it leading to? Because if TTP and IS Khorasan and the BLA have opened fronts, there is unrest in Sindh, and there has just been a train blast between Quetta and Peshawar also. What does that mean? And what are the implications for us as a country?
See, like I said earlier, taking the second part of your question first, we want a peaceful neighborhood. Peaceful neighborhood is in overall India's strategic interest. Having said that, the way Pakistan is going, the way the deep state, the way the military, the way the establishment is working, ISKP, the TTP, the way they are now training their guns on Pakistan Army and Pakistan, as also the Afghan Taliban. Talking of the freedom fight of the BLA, Baluch Liberation Army. That freedom fight is also gaining momentum now, because Pakistan's military, which was governing that area with an iron hand, and the atrocities and human rights which are being committed. Now the public uprising there, the freedom struggle which is going on in Balochistan, is also on the upward swing. So all the indicators of peace in that country are on the downward swing.
Very rightly said, and this is creating a huge security issue for us too. And are we ready for it? Because will it all suddenly turn towards us? And when they don't know what is happening, they also have the nuke buttons in their hands. So one wonders what's going to happen. I have limited time, and we've got a news update. I wish you all the best with your book, sir. Because Ghazi to ab ja hi rahe hain. So people should read what has happened in the past so that they can understand and appreciate the present. Thank you very, very much. We've just got more news coming through, ladies and gentlemen. A big update coming through, and trouble is mounting, and this could be huge amount of drama come Monday, because this is a big exclusive. Our investigations editor Manoj Gupta getting us this update that the Lahore High Court has ordered to produce former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan at 2 o'clock on Monday. Now, and trouble is mounting because this is a political conundrum. Imran Khan, there are chances of his arrest if he doesn't present himself, and if the Lahore High Court strikes down the second bail too. Meanwhile, Imran Khan's lawyer, Advocate Azhar Siddique, has said that there is a huge security threat to Imran Khan and threat to life. So if he doesn't present himself, then his arrest is imminent. But if the current establishment arrests him, then there will be no support to the passage of the bill that they have to pass to ensure that this mini budget comes into force, because that's a stringent IMF condition. However it's a time or a period of political turmoil in the run-up to Monday 2 p.m. when Imran Khan has to present himself. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of The Right Stand. Stay with us, Brass Tacks with Zaka right now.
Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The BBC row has now gone to a different gear altogether. The Vice President of India says we should not fall prey to doctored narratives put out by Western media like the BBC. He also says that India is telling the world that we are going to engage or disengage on our own terms, not terms set by the Western media. The opposition, though, has taken exception to this. They are saying that going after outlets like the BBC is a gross infringement on the freedom of the press. The question is, who does this controversy actually help, and who and why is this actually being kept alive? Because up until a couple of days ago, when the BBC raids happened, this story was pretty much off the front pages and off the 9 o'clock news. But now, with those raids, the government seems to have kept this story alive.
We cannot allow free fall of doctored narratives to run down our growth story.
Amid the surveys being carried out by the Income Tax Department at BBC's offices in Delhi and Mumbai, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar drew the line. He cautioned against what he called doctored narratives and said that dumping of information was another way of invasion.
Sinister designs are there to set afloat a narrative by free fall of information. We have to be alert. This is another way of invasion. We have to boldly neutralize it.
Dhankar's remarks come after income tax officials surveyed the offices of BBC for 2 straight days. The IT department has alleged that BBC didn't comply with transfer pricing norms and diverted profit. The tax department's surveys come weeks after the BBC aired a 2-part documentary on Prime Minister Modi and the 2002 Gujarat riots. The documentary triggered massive controversy in the country and was banned from online platforms by the government. Meanwhile, the opposition has accused the government of hounding those who speak the truth.
Hypocrisy, even a small writer put up for Modi ji, and when the right things or truth is revealed, then they say that is anti-national.
So is there any truth to the Vice President's claims of doctored narratives? Is politics driving propaganda?
All right, let me open this up to our guests who are joining us at the top of Brass Tacks. Ishkaran Bhandari is a lawyer and political analyst. Ashok Sajanhar is a former diplomat, also one of the signatories against this BBC documentary. Dr. Shama Mohammed of the Congress will be joining us, and Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist, will also be joining us on the broadcast. Ashok Sajanhar, let me ask you this. You know, when the documentary came, and of course, a lot of people had issues with it, including you, a lot of people signed against it and so on. But